Jamison with Christian-apologist.com. And I am really excited because I'm here with two people I've never chatted with in person, and also Craig Reed. And so we're going to have a really interesting conversation, and it's going to be from all kinds of perspectives. So one perspective is Craig Reed and I are Christians, and Puck and Ethan are atheists. And so they're taking those perspectives, and we'll be hashing that out a little bit. And another difference is we're from different parts of the country, though. Although Ethan and I are both from the Chicago area, he's currently in Chicago, but I'm down in Florida now. And Puck is from Cincinnati, and Craig is from New York. So we're going to talk about why you cannot put ketchup on top of hot dogs.
This is a beautiful way to start no, this is good, and I like this. And I guess my first big question, because I'm the one who obviously doesn't understand this, is where did this come from? Like, how do you become aware that ketchup and hot dogs aren't a thing?
Well, they just don't mix, for one. Ketchup it's just gross. It doesn't go, sorry, ketchup isn't gross, but in Chicago it just doesn't go on a hot dog. And to give you an example, if you go to Gene and Jude's, they not only don't have ketchup, but they will kick you out of the building if you ask for ketchup. So people, what they do is they'll go next door to the McDonald's, and now McDonald's sells ketchup packets. They won't give them away because of people wanting to put ketchup on a hot dog. But it shouldn't happen. A Chicago style hot dog has no ketchup. And Puck, if you and I ever meet in person, you are going to have a Chicago style hot dog. And then after you have it, you're going to be like, you know what? I never want ketchup on a hot dog again.
Well, maybe I can add some pineapple relish to it or something. No, but seriously, like, how do you become aware of this? Were you explicitly taught do not put ketchup on hot dogs? Were you like pulled aside in middle school? It's like, hey, there's something that everybody needs to know when they're growing up.
So they're dogmatic about it there.
Dogmatic.
Like,
oh,
yes,
that's nice.
Yes,
but I can say,
like, how does this awareness get spread? Is it explicitly or implicitly taught? Just out of curiosity.
That's a good question. I actually didn't learn it more until I was about 12 years old. And then it was after that, once I tried it without ketchup, I was like, oh, this is how a hot dog should be.
Oh, that's so funny. I have to say, my sons love ketchup on hot dogs. One of my sons will add mustard, but I will only have hot dogs with mustard. Like, I refuse to put ketchup because I don't really like ketchup. So I don't want ketchup on my hot dog. I don't want ketchup on my hamburger either, by the way.
We found our first common ground.
Well, the thing with
mustard
Chicago,
only.
But the thing with Chicago in general, like, there's a different style of pizza altogether. Like, deep dish is Chicago pizza, right? Because there's a lot of people who don't think deep dish pizza qualifies as pizza. In New York, you never see it. It's only like the sliced
that's
pizza.
True.
Oh, that's thin sliced stuff. It might as well just be cheese on a cracker. I want a pizza so deep it might as well be lasagna. All right, that's how thick I want my pizza.
Wow.
I say it goes both ways. Like 50% of the people say Chicago style is the thicker kind, like the Lou Malnati's. Oh, not that Lou Malnati's is Chicago style, or the thin one. I'd say that is one that could go either way. I don't know. What do you think, SJ?
Yeah, I know. I forget the names of the pizza places in Chicago that I used to get the really thick pizza. I'll have to think about that really closely because it's been a while.
Oh, I always thought that was Chicago style, that deep dish. That's not a Chicago style.
It is deep dish. And sometimes they do it inside out too. So the cheese will be, they'll have the sauce on the top and the cheese under it.
Stuffed.
Yes.
So good.
Yeah, that is really good.
That does sound good.
So how did it become known as Cincinnati style pizza? Or sorry, Chicago style pizza? Like, was there like a couple of restaurants that just like really pushed the concept? How did Chicago become known for this type of pizza?
That's a good question. Do you know that, Stephanie?
I don't, although I'm trying to remember the names. For some reason I'm drawing. Well, I know why. It's been like many, many decades since I've been there. So I mean, I've been to Chicago, but since I've been to the pizza places up there, so I'm not even remembering the names, unfortunately.
All right, I'll tell you a fun fact. I've been to Florence, Italy. And the pizza in New York City is better than the pizza in Florence, Italy. A lot better.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. New York pizza. You can get the best pizza in the world in New York. And
I agree that New York pizza is awesome. I love New York pizza.
Yes, it is good.
And it wasn't. I also have had pizza in Italy, and I would agree with you, Craig. Now I want to show Puck this. Puck, do you see this?
I actually just your green screen is kind of covering it up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there it is. Okay, when you put it in front of your face, I can see it. When you put it in front, oh, they're very nice. I can't see that. I saw a quick blip. The Montgomery and matchsticks.
Yes, Montgomery.
Very nice.
Now these aren't matchsticks. This is actually the hand wipes.
Oh, hand
And-
wipes. Okay.
And I saved this. You know how long ago this is from? This is from the 1990s.
Wow.
I saved
and out of curiosity, what brought you to Cincinnati?
it was actually a funeral. Unfortunately, I had a boyfriend back then, and I remember we went up to his grandfather's funeral up there.
Sorry to hear that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well,
so when people think of
happens.
Cincinnati, they do think of Montgomery, and the other two things that they think about typically are Geta and Grater's ice cream. Now, I know Grater's does distribute up there. You can get it at grocery stores and whatnot. Geta is the weird one. Have you guys ever heard of Geta?
No.
Okay, it's I'm going to spell it out for the people in chat so they can look it up. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
I almost don't want to know what it is because I actually like it. And I'm afraid that if I find out what they put in this, I'm not going to like it anymore. But they're crazy about their Geta.
Totally. Animal byproducts and like.
Yeah, you go to IHOP here and you can get Geta. They have Geta Fest where they take the entire riverside and they just open up a whole bunch of stands out there. You can get Geta pizza, you can get Geta omelets, you can get Geta everything. I don't even know what it is, but it's delicious.
Wow.
What is it, like spam? It's like a meat thing?
It is I think it's a meat thing. But again, I'm putting an asterisk on that because I have no idea.
I think that's not a good sign.
Wow.
You definitely don't want to know what it is.
I believe it is a pork product, but that's as far as I
Oh God, yeah, it's spam. It's like spam byproducts.
What is spam? Pork shoulder and ham.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't believe that meat should ever just be that sort of consistency. It's a little weird to me.
I want some pizza right now.
Now, how do you guys spell? Let me ask you this: how do you spell how do you pronounce Gyros?
Gyros.
Yes, gyros.
Gyros.
You
exactly.
do not say gyros. You don't say gyros.
Gyros.
It's gyro. Yeah, it's none of that.
It's a soft G.
Gyros.
It's a very, very soft G, so much you're almost breathing it, right?
Exactly. Now, I had my first gyros up in Chicago, and I can say that I came down to Florida, and we're in the mall, and I hear people asking for gyros, and I'm like, stop.
It makes you cringe. It's like, no, please.
Yes. And then they all started. The thing is, I came down here and I used to say things like "roof" for roof, and I would say I'd ask for a pop.
I do. It's pop. It's not soda. It's pop.
Yes, I would ask for a pop, and they're like, "What do you want? What do you want? A pop?"
I should just keep my mouth shut on this one. I already disagree with you guys enough. No, it's soda. Pop is the kind of music you guys make fun of me for listening to. This, I'm drinking orange soda.
If there's one thing you'll learn, Puck, is Chicagoans are never wrong when it comes to food.
Yeah, Chicagoans, we
take
actually the
food
Taste
seriously.
of Chicago is one of the best events of the year. They still do that every August, don't they?
Yeah, although I don't think it's happening this year.
Not this year, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
unfortunately.
Yeah, Taste
I
of
love the
Chicago's
chat
great.
is just like throwing it out with all this pizza talk. This is beautiful.
Oh, Pizzeria Uno. Yeah, that's one of them. Tano's,
Yes.
Nino's, Bartoli's, Luisa's, Pecad's. Yeah, Slam RN is in Indiana, so she's familiar with all this stuff.
Oh, see, I'm just thinking about, okay, you got Domino's and you got Marco's and you got Little Caesars and Pizza Hut. So we don't have like the big name pizza places. I can't think of a really great pizza place that's not a chain. So
is it just
I'm
Ethan? Puck, are you from Chicago too, or is it just Ethan?
No, it's just Ethan. I'm from Cincinnati.
We've actually never
gotcha.
met each other. We met
in real life
through this. Yeah, we've never met in real life.
Stephanie and I haven't met in real life either.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, no, I haven't met barely anybody on Twitter in real life.
My wife calls you guys, or she calls Steph. She doesn't know you guys yet, but she calls Stephanie my fake friend, my fake Twitter friend. And honest to God, I've tried for like a year and a half to get her to understand who Stephanie is, and she just tunes it out. I'm like, I've brought it up like 50 times. See, I'm streaming with Stephanie. Who's Stephanie? Who's Stephanie again? She's a professor. You don't remember me telling you about? Oh yeah, oh right, her. And then she just tunes it out.
That's so funny.
Well, my wife is keenly aware of who Ethan is because Ethan here produces more content on his channel than the entire atheist community of Austin put together. This isn't a joke, okay? How many streams did you have yesterday, Ethan, including guest appearures on other channels? You had 4.
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Oh my gosh!
You personally were on the internet for 6 hours yesterday.
Who was on your channel? Who was on your channel yesterday?
He's an aspiring. Oh, he had Godless Engineer. I listened to part of that.
Yeah, so I had
yes.
In the morning I was on the Daily Atheist. Then I was had Godless Engineer. Then I put together the first ever Atheist Women's Roundtable. And then I also do some other stuff outside of the atheist community. Like I do this like dating talk show. And then I do this other one where I bring comedians on and they play the game called Password. So I don't know, I kind of like people have fun and laugh. So that's why I do other things outside of the atheist community as well.
Yeah, and what Ethan's not telling you is that in preparation for some of these events, he's often messaging me as early as like 8 o'clock in the morning saying, help, I need some questions for tonight's show. So my wife knows who Ethan is because I message him quite a bit during the day and try to clear his mind for yeah.
That's
No,
funny.
it's actually better that my wife kind of tunes out all my online activities.
Because, my husband doesn't. He just doesn't even. He has no interest. Once in a blue moon, he'll listen to one of my videos or debates. But I'll be like, just a minute ago, I said, I'm going to go up there and get on a call with 2 atheists and a Christian. And I named you guys. And he's like, have fun.
Yeah, that's exactly
awesome.
what my wife does. And I try to get her impressed with it every once in a while. Like when I had Inspiring Philosophy on, I was trying to like pimp it out. So I was like, okay, she's going to be impressed with this. And I'm like, he's debated. Like I try to tie it into something she knows. Like she knows who Jordan Peterson is. So I'm like,
who doesn't?
Okay. Yeah, but so like Jordan Peterson debated Matt Dillahunty. So I'm trying to get her to understand who Matt Dillahunty is. He debated this guy who's on my channel. So I'm trying to like piece it together so she gets, and she just like, so I played a minute of it before. She's like, who's this nerd again? Like, all right, never mind.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, no, my husband knows who Matt Dillahunty is too. And he's listened to some of my debates, a couple of them. He didn't like one of them. He didn't like the one with Skylar.
Oh
So
yeah,
funny.
I'm sure.
He
Gosh,
totally didn't like that.
I would probably get annoyed with that if that were like, I can see how a husband would bristle at that. Well, how's he talking? Who does he think? I would actually get really annoyed.
Yeah.
See, I can appreciate how, the quick thinking and think on your feet and the storehouse of knowledge required to go on in the format of a debate or even a discussion like that. I've done it exactly once and I'm probably never going to do it again. Ethan here, he started by going on a debate with a presuppositional apologist.
It did not go well, Stephanie.
Was it Darth?
No.
Oh no, I mean no. Although I would
That'd be
mind.
funny.
No, it was Joel Sedekase from the Think Institute. And I quickly learned I was well out of my depth. But I'm really glad it happened because I also learned that I'm like, wow, debating's just not my thing. Like, I don't want to be like, hey, you're wrong because this, and this. I'd rather just talk to someone, find out.
Yeah, I think conversations are better.
Yeah.
What Ethan isn't telling you is that he figured this out after going 3 debates with Joel.
Right.
He makes it sound like it's like, oh, I tried one debate and it wasn't for me. No,
okay.
There's Joel round 1, there's Joel round 2, and then there's Joel round 3, all of which are available on his.
It's like he's strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then his friends had to do an intervention. Go, you know what, Ethan, debating's just not your thing.
You're more right than you know, Craig.
That's how I met Puck. He reached out to me because of how bad I did.
Oh, wow.
And that was my introduction to him. You could use some, I forgot specifically what he said, but you could use some tips. Here, let me help you out. And he just starts flooding me with all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I could use a lot more than tips. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Well, I heard, actually, that was a funny video. I was listening to Puck sort of educating you on Christian apologetics.
That was the first time you were on the channel, wasn't it? Like just me showing the arguments and Ethan like saying, I don't even know what moral ontological argument means. Okay.
I can't. I'm not going to pretend to know. I don't. I'm trying to learn, but I'm very new at this, and those complex arguments at times can get lost on me.
Yeah, and they were complex. I mean, actually, it's pretty good. Puck really got this understanding of a lot of the arguments down for only having been here a year in this whole community. I wanted to ask you guys, I know, Ethan, you've got a channel called Friendly Neighborhood Atheist. I've got to put a link in the description to that. I don't know if I did yet, but I will definitely.
Oh, thank you.
Craig, we definitely have a link to you already in the description. But Puck, do you have a YouTube channel?
I don't. I just piggyback off of Ethan here. I've made some appearances on a couple of other channels, but no, I don't have my own. The reason being, my first presence online is as a Twitch gamer, and more people still know me as that. So like if you look at my early Twitter, and even a lot of the friends that I have from Twitter are people who I game with on Twitch, you'll see a lot of talk about Final Fantasy on there, not about apologetics. So this is kind of a weird thing, like combining my two worlds now, Puck the gamer and Puck the atheist YouTuber. I don't know how much I even want to come out. I don't know if I want to devote a channel to this, or if this is just something that I hop on other channels for fun.
Yeah.
But no, I
Who
don't
was
have
the
my
first-
own YouTube channel. So.
Who was the person you debated originally? You were in one debate, you said?
What was his name? Forgive me for not remembering your name. It was on a channel called The Gospel Truth. It's
I
run by
have to see
Marlon
this.
Wilson. I'm
gonna want to see that too.
Oh no.
Yeah, we're gonna have to break that up. We should do a commentary.
Break it
on
down.
that, Stephanie.
Yeah, just so you know,
Please, dude.
I was like in between deciding hairstyles at that point, so no judgment on the appearance. And
Well,
I remember
wait, I just
no
got an
judgments
idea.
at all, Stephanie. We should do a commentary on it.
Yes,
No
please
judgments at
do
all.
it.
knock yourselves out. Like, okay, now I'm a huge fan of going back over work and saying, okay, here's what we can do better next time. And I do that with pretty much the Ethan's atheist content, his social issue stuff. That's out of my depth, so I let him do that. But like when he talks to Joel, I'm on there the next day. It's like, well, okay, do you want to talk about this? But the video on The Gospel Truth is the one show that I've never gone back on to ever watch myself do.
Okay.
So I would
Gospel
actually
Truth.
be curious to see how people break this down.
Should we put links to those?
You know what? It's out there. So go ahead. You have to scroll back quite a ways. I think it was like last November or something.
No, you guys don't have to worry. I mean, I have, just to let you know that I've been very embarrassed too. My first debut for people to first hear my voice was on Matt Dillahunty's Atheist Experience, and I called in 3 years ago with
That was your first?
with a chip on my shoulder. And I was acting all pompous. And by the end, he said something like, "You're wasting my time." And I said, "Of course I'm wasting your time." And then he hung up on me. And it's been seen by 500,000 people.
Oh.
And actually, I don't even know if Stephanie remembers this, but at the time I kind of knew her and I started chatting with her in DMs. And I literally said, "Don't even worry about it. That's the first thing you've ever done. You shouldn't have chosen Matt Dillahunty.
No.
You didn't realize what you were getting into." And I was like, you'll be on YouTube, you'll be in debates, and a year or two from now, you'll be totally fine. And I don't know if she believed me then. Here we are 3 years later, and she's a big star of the Christian community. I think that might be
I don't know about that.
SJ, would you allow a link in your chat?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm gonna post a link here, so now it's forever commemorated. This was my first. I made sure to frame it as a discussion because this channel is kind of known for having a bunch of presuppositional apologists. I'm just not interested in being at the receiving end of well, how do you know that?
It doesn't quite work as a
So I was going to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you real quick. Here, so when you come to Florida, here's what happened to me. I moved from Illinois to Florida right between my high school and college. And so once I got here, I met a bunch of new friends in Boca Raton, actually a ton of friends, and we had a lot of good times. And we used to go to this place that was called a raw bar. You guys familiar with raw bars?
No.
Mm-mm.
So a raw bar is really common in Florida. And what it is it's places where they shuck oysters in front of you, and you have clams and you have all that kind of food that I never had in Illinois. I never even think of trying in Illinois. So I had to try all these different kinds of food like mussels and clams and oysters. And everyone did that. Like we all would have oysters. We'd all have these big platters of them. And so that's a big thing that you'll hit when you come to Florida, if you haven't done it yet.
I've been to Florida twice, and forgive me for this. For both times, it was to watch ice hockey games. There are more professional ice hockey teams in Florida than there are in Ohio.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it happened when you got the Jacksonville Icemen. So I've actually watched all the teams down there. I actually watched. I don't know where you are, but I've been down to Miami to watch the Panthers, and as far north as Jacksonville to watch the Icemen.
You
and
been
all
to
the
Tampa
other
at
teams.
all?
Yeah, I was actually at Amalie Arena to watch Tampa Bay Lightning. And of course, while we're there, because it's Florida, my wife wanted to go to this one like castle place, but it was like completely infested with mice, so I didn't really have a very good time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, no, there's a lot of great stuff to do, but as soon as this coronavirus gets over, that's what we just need. So Yeah, Frank Christian is saying, SJ, links, please. They want the links to your
Ooh.
I
debate.
did. I
Oh.
actually, it's in your chat right now. I actually sent the link. This is the link to my
okay.
my first discussion there. This was before I adopted the Puck persona, so I just go on there as
I
Alex.
love to see,
like-
to me, you are Puck. Like, even though I know you as Alex, you're still Puck.
Yeah, that's fine. The weird thing is, like, I only added Puck to my online name about a year and a half ago. And it's kind of like everybody comes up with these nice elaborate names, and that's cool, right? Like Digital Hammurabi, that's an awesome name. Rationality Rules, Inspiring Christianity. No, I just want one syllable. I am Puck. That's all I need.
Yeah,
I agree.
Puck is pretty clever. I think that's a clever one.
Yeah, but I don't mind being called
It's like
Alex
Cher.
Alex.
It's like, you know, he's
Yes.
planning on going big.
He doesn't need a last name.
No, just Puck.
He's too big for a last name. It's too big to
Simply
fail
Puck.
already. Madonna, Puck, Cher, Sting. You know, it's like
Puck.
Bono. This is the sphere that you guys associate me with. This is good. My branding is working.
totally.
But if you guys go back there and like pick on the a newbie atheist, please do so. Send me a link to that and tell me how much of a good laugh you got out of it.
So are you two, I think Ethan said you were at one point a Christian. What about you, Puck? Were you Christian too at one point?
Yeah, I was born and raised but not baptized. Or I was born and raised baptized but not confirmed Catholic. I grew up in a Catholic family, and then I was baptized Mormon, but didn't go too far into that. And then I ran my own atheist Bible, or not atheist, my own Bible study forum in the infancy of the internet. This is like 1999, right? Like when there was nothing there but Usenet. And then that actually kind of did it for me. Like actually going through the Bible and realizing that you can't even get out of chapter 1 without asking yourself, did humans get created before animals, or did animals get created before humans? And so like I started really digging into there, and it's like, okay, this is starting to not make a lot of sense. Like, are they going onto the ark 2 by 2 or 2 by 2, except for 7 for some of them? And,
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
you started learning about like the history of how the Bible was compiled. And actually, this is something I have a lot to learn from you, because your body of work has a lot to do with scripture. So it'd be fascinating to learn this from you. Compilation of the Bible is very interesting to me because you don't get a lot of good sources of the history of different compilations of the Bible. Like the one that most of us typically think of, that's just like one form of it, right? Like the Catholics, they have their own version of it, and there's different works that didn't quite make the cut. And probably, you know, it's all an interesting discussion, like why didn't it, or what shouldn't. And of course, it's history, so we're never going to get all the answers. But it's a lot of fun. You guys are familiar, of course, with Laura Robinson and Ian Mills, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
interesting. They've started to hit. I think it's just like the past couple of months when I became aware of their work. They've been making the rounds with the atheist channels, and it's really fascinating hearing them talk about their stuff.
Wait, Ethan, was that you on their stream last night? There was an Ethan there, and I asked if it was you.
No.
Oh, okay.
At least, not that I remember.
I
don't think I was there.
Greg.
I mean,
swear you
granted, no, I don't drink. No, I had 4 streams, so let me go through them all.
Oh no.
No, I was not on a 5th stream.
Okay, because they had some like celebration, I think 2 years last night. And I was listening live for a little bit, and Paul G and Shannon were there, and there was a person, Ethan, there, and I was asking in the live stream if that was you, but I guess it wasn't.
If he
Well, that's
doesn't
right. It
have
was the anniversary of their podcast, right? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
As Puck pointed out, if he doesn't have the hat with the little curl, then it's not Ethan.
Oh boy. It's interesting that we've been doing this for such a short amount of time, and we already have little trademark things that we're known for, right? Like I have the gigantic mug, plain colored shirts, and I always, you know, and the abbreviated name. Ethan here, he's got the tie dye and the little curl on his. Yeah, it makes me wonder.
Oh
like,
yeah, check
obviously,
that out.
obviously, you guys know that you know, you guys have been around long enough to know that us atheists, we were familiar with your body of work. Of course, we talk about you. It makes me wonder, like, what kind of reputation have we gotten with
That's
the
a good
apologists
question.
crowd? Like,
Yeah.
what do you guys think of when you think of us?
I don't know you guys that well, so I have to get to. I mean, I've seen what you've done in the video, what you did with Ethan the time you were on there, and I have to say, I think you seem like a thoughtful person who has some pretty good intellect. Ethan is the personality; he's got a huge laugh, and I think that style together is good. It's like the ethos, pathos, and logos idea. So you've got the ethos, the credibility idea. The pathos is the emotion and the personality and the storytelling, and the logos is just the logical flows. And so when you two were interacting and you were teaching him apologetics, you could kind of see that combination coming together, and it worked out pretty well.
See, Puck.
We're like pinky in the brain. Well. I get it. I get it. We do play off of each other very well. This is actually the first time we've ever taken our show on the road before, so this is kind of like feeling out how the comedy works. And I'm glad that it is, because Ethan over here, like his big thing and my big thing also is like I like to foster good conversations, and I know you guys are do the same thing. You and Craig, and when Ethan told me about this, I was like, you know what? Okay, let's go there. Let's see what we can do and have a good time. But you know what? Let's be prepared. Okay, we know what their body of work is, so at the very least, let's respect them, show the respect, and say this. Be ready to talk on their level if they want to. Let's not turn this into a karaoke stream, Ethan. Let's see. Let's see if we can actually discuss some deep ideas along with this too.
I would not turn this into a karaoke stream, Puck.
That would actually be awesome.
We have a barbershop quartet right here. See? Okay, I'm just saying, if we wanted to do some barbershop, we could probably do it.
Yeah.
But it's like this is why I don't like the debate format, is because debate is contentious by design, right?
Right.
But here, like, we can actually talk out ideas, and we can flesh them out, and we might not walk away agreeing, but at least we'll walk away having a better understanding of what it is. Like, my big issue with the moral ontological argument is I've never heard it explained the same way from two different apologists. So I don't even know if I can agree with it or not, because it's never been explained to me in the same way twice. Did you see Skylar and was it, I forget, RCA? Apologetics last night?
I just watched that today.
I have never heard a moral argument explained in this way before. So, since it's coming from so many different ways and so many different definitions, I can't even put my foot on what it is, so I can't decide if I agree with it or not. So if we had a discussion instead of an argument about it, maybe we can come to some understanding of, like I said, even if we don't have an agreement, at least we'll know what each other means. And that's kind of lacking in debates.
Yeah, it is. I'll go back to one thing that you mentioned with the Bible, because I think that I think you asked a question. And so my understanding of how the Bible came together is they wanted to make sure that the people who were included in the New Testament had either were eyewitnesses or they had access to eyewitnesses to the resurrection account. And so each of them and they all have a lot of interrelationships, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't include stuff that was written a lot later, like the Gnostics. That's one of the reasons they excluded the Gnostics, is because many of them were written anywhere between, the mid of the 2nd century all the way up to the 300s and 400s. And so you've got these things written quite a bit later, and they start getting really embellished upon in the Gnostics, where it starts getting to be, someone comes out of the grave and he's standing up to the sky and all this kind of stuff. And they start building into Jesus having all these miracles when he was a kid. And even though it says in the Bible that his very first miracle ever was at the wedding at Cana. So there's all these little things like that. And so the church fathers got together and started putting together the canon. You've got mention of all 4 gospel authors by Justin Martyr around the year 150. So we know that was very early itself, starting to come together. So
I see Ethan's eyes kind of glossing over right now, because that was all very scholarly and I appreciate it. Ethan's a little lost, but Ethan, SJ over here, okay, like, she's got the charts.
Okay, I have my focus face and my I'm trying hard to pay attention face.
Okay,
that was my paying attention face. I was not getting my eyes glossed over, but thank you.
SJ is your person, okay? Like, when you were asking me yesterday, it's like, tell me more about resurrection apologetics. It's like, talk to SJ. She's got it down. I actually, in preparation for this, I sent him 4 of your videos.
Oh, really?
To get it? Yes. He never watched any of them.
That's not true. I watched the first one you sent to me, which was on, oh man, I'm sorry. Now I'm blanking.
So what did you send, Puck? I'm curious to see which 4 are the representations of my work.
I don't even remember, but it's in our chat. It's in our chat, Ethan. It's in there. It's not very deep because it was just yesterday, right?
No, it was a few days ago.
Oh, that's true. Okay, the prep was a few days ago. It's in there. But yeah, I sent him your work to talk about resurrection apologetics. I have that much deep respect for you, SJ.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
I even remember, like, when you first asked us if we would like to be on your show. Ethan, of course, he's Ethan. So he's like, yes, I would absolutely love to be on any channel whatsoever. And I'm more like, you know what? I don't know that I can add to this avenue of conversation. It's like, you'd be either running circles around me or you'd be the one doing the teaching. And if you're the one doing the teaching, I might as well not be there. Right. So it's like, I didn't feel like I had anything to compute. But if you want to talk about, like, the history of why you're not supposed to put pineapple on pizza, okay.
There we go. We didn't even get to that yet. Why can't we put pineapple on pizza?
Okay, so let's tie this in very neatly to apologetics and Bible conversation, because I've been thinking about this for a long time. Just like with ketchup on hot dogs, all right? I think someone came up with the idea of pineapple on pizza and other people just plain didn't like it. And the not liking it became so strong that it became like cultural awareness that you're just not supposed to do it. Like, you ever heard about this thing? Like, after you turn 30, you're not supposed to have a poster on your wall unless it's in a frame. Like,
Really?
these little cultural awareness
Oh.
things it's not written anywhere, but you just know, right?
Huh. That's,
Is
I didn't even
this-
think of that. That's so true, though.
Now, are we starting to get close to something like moral ontology when everyone just knows you're supposed to put frames on posters on your wall? Otherwise, it's like really, really like college dormish.
Yeah, you're right.
So-
And the last time I had posters was in college dorm. What's in the
Yeah.
college dorm?
So this makes me wonder, it's like when people talk about moral ontology, they start by talking about, Ethan, this is for you. They start by talking about that moral facts exist. But when they talk about moral facts exist, they don't talk about moral facts. Instead, what they talk about is something that's almost universally agreed. But then when we start talking about actions, they say, no. This is not ontology now. Now we're talking about epistemology. And somewhere in there, it gets like really tight and confused. Anyway, this all goes back to pizza, because like most of us are not aware of when we learned things, right? Like, I couldn't tell you exactly when I became aware thou shalt not steal. I'm pretty sure that it wasn't the first time I read the Bible, but I also couldn't tell you when it was. I also couldn't tell you if it's just something I've always known. Like, if you take a human and raise them in a way that they've never been around other humans, will they just know things? Will they just innately know when they first see humans for the very first time? Will they know you're not supposed to kill other humans? Do they even have a concept of what, in order to kill, in order to understand what that means, you have to have an understanding of what life means, right? In order to steal, you have to have a concept of what possession means, right? Ownership. Okay. So when we talk about, do people just innately know things? How would we even experiment that? How would we find out if people are truly innately aware of these, or if it's just we've grown up in a culture where there's some things we understand? You do not put pineapple on pizza. You just don't do it. You do not steal. You just don't do it. But in this case, it happens to be in several codes of ethics. I don't know if there's a specific code of ethics out there that says, no ketchup on hot dogs when you're in Chicago. Maybe there is, I don't know. But like, how do we know what's innate, and how do we know what's culturally like either explicitly taught or implicitly observed?
Yeah, you'd have to see, the thing is, you'd have to find a culture where people are doing the wrong things. In one thing, and you can find that. Actually, you see Muslims sometimes who are the extremists training their kids from very young ages to go out and kill people. And so we do have people doing the wrong thing. But the idea is, if you go across cultures and you go back into time, I had Josh yesterday on my channel talking about even like 1750 BC, they've got these codes where they all believe that justice is good and murder is bad and those sorts of things that we believe now. And so the question is it innate? It's hard to say. Is it nurture or nature? Can you train somebody out of it? I'd say that in the cases that I've seen where people have become very murderous, they always try to justify it in their minds by saying that the person on the other side is not a real human. Like the Nazis thought that the Jewish people,
right? Yeah,
rats.
that's true. So they definitely try to dehumanize. There's a process of dehumanization so that they can rationalize the behavior to themselves.
Yep.
And that would seem to imply, even though you don't have, like your original question, you have a person. Do they have innate knowledge? It's hard to say until there's a society to even give voice to what might be their innate moral intuitions. Like that's why it's a debate. Some people will say, like, one of the things that I always point out with, like, you can be an atheist and still believe in moral facts. But one of the arguments that they always use, if you don't think they're moral facts, is like their legal codes are different from culture to culture. And they aren't. There's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of ideas that appear to be innate moral facts, like murder is wrong almost everywhere. Pineapple on pizza is wrong almost everywhere.
Ketchup on hot dogs is right almost everywhere. It's actually it's an anomaly in Chicago for Chicago to be such fans of mustard on hot dogs only. Is there any other, now I don't remember this. I want to go back and ask, is there any other things that we can put on top of hot dogs, or is it just mustard?
No, so it goes mustard, relish, tomato, pickle, and celery salt, and then an onion as well. That's the Chicago style hot dog.
Wow,
Oh,
I haven't
that's
had
interesting.
in a long
That actually
time.
sounds
So
decent.
good. It's
That
so
sounds
Let me
really
ask you
good,
a question, Ethan. Have you ever been to New York City?
I have not, but I have tried New York style hot dogs. Now, so here's the thing. Now, if you want a really good hot dog too, there's an alternative. You get a Nathan's hot dog. You
Nathan's
do not
famous,
steam
yeah.
it. Do not steam it. It has to go on a grill. There is a huge taste difference. You put it on the grill, and that will be the second best hot dog you'll ever have. So good.
Erica in the audience is saying mustard only.
Yes, Erica. That's what I'm talking about.
Whereas here in Cincinnati, we put Cincinnati chili and mustard and onions and a gigantic pile of shredded cheddar cheese. And that is
Yeah,
a Cincinnati cheese coney.
You know, Puck,
See, what's good about the Cincinnati chili that's so different than any, I don't know if you guys all in the audience have tried it, or if all of you guys have tried it, but it's got kind of cinnamon in it, and it's unique. It's really unique.
Let's not even think about it as like chili con carne, because it's not. It's basically a meat flavored sauce. Just to give everybody the right idea, when I say Cincinnati chili, that's what we're actually talking about. And SJ is right. It does have a little tiny cinnamon kick to it. They sell it by the can. I'm sure if you guys really want to get it, you can get Skyline chili and try it on a hot dog. See how you feel about it, Ethan.
So let me ask you guys this: Has Guy Fieri been to your areas, to any of your restaurants in your areas, your diners, drives, and dives?
If he has, I didn't know about it.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, he's been to Tampa a couple times. So he's been places I haven't even been to. So I'm gonna have to go to those so I can report.
Now, one thing I do know, who was that one guy? He went to like these weird countries and weird out of the way places and ate these really, really bizarre foods. I forget
Anthony Bourdain.
Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, yes.
Okay, like he did an episode in Alaska and he did an episode in the Philippines, and I can vouch for both of those. That like the things that he was eating in there is actually the native cuisine. So when he talks about these weird things like live octopus, okay,
Yeah.
I can believe that because I saw the Alaska episode. One of the weird things they do in Alaska is they take meat from a bird there called a ptarmigan. They cut the meat off the bone. That's fine. Then they wrap it up in tin foil and actually put it in the motor of their snowmobiles. And then
Really?
by driving on their snowmobiles, that heat cooks
Weird.
the ptarmigan.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's
Weird.
called muffler meat there.
Muffler meat.
Weird.
So, that reminds me, my sister went down to Jamaica, just to add something to build off that first thing you said, that weird kind of meat up in Cincinnati. But she went down to Jamaica and she had what was called mixed meat. And she said, she'd say, what's in it? And they wouldn't tell her.
Oh, okay. No, that's. I'll take some hard lines when it comes to food. I would never try something that I don't know what's in it.
Oh, come on, Ethan. What do you think a hot dog is?
At least I moderately know what's in it. Beef.
Yeah. Parts is parts, right?
Yes.
So what's the weirdest thing you guys have eaten? What, like the strangest food that people would say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you ate that?
Ethan, you want to take this one first? I've eaten some weird food. So
I actually haven't eaten. So, okay. I used to have some more like stomach issues, which prevented me from being able to experiment with food. Those have gotten better. So now I am getting out there and trying more foods. So I'd say, unfortunately, the most wildest thing I've eaten is sushi, but and I love sushi so much.
Oh, I do too. That's so good.
But yeah, I'm open to trying more things. As long as it's nothing alive. Like when people start eating, I don't know. So one, I don't want to hurt anything. So the idea of eating something while it's alive is horrifying to me, because it's like, why would you want to cause anybody, anything, pain? So yeah, I couldn't do it. So I guess I do have some food lines I won't cross. Like if you told me the only way I could eat meat was I had to hunt and kill the animal, couldn't do it because I don't want to hurt an animal.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I'm exactly like that. If I had to go get the animal myself, I'm definitely not doing it unless it's fish. I can handle fish.
I wonder if I could do. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. I've become a softie in my older age. I used to not care so much, and now I'm more concerned with the people and animals around me. It's kind of weird. I feel
sounds like a good conversation for you to have with Alex O'Connor. But
oh yeah, the vegetarian.
Right. Oh, he's not just vegan. He is he deeply like he understands his philosophy behind it. He's a fascinating person to listen to. Like even if you disagree with his end premise, like understanding how he gets there, he spells everything out beautifully. It's great. You ever heard of him, Ethan?
I have not, but I could easily, while I'm a meat eater, I would easily argue that being a vegan is a more moral option, even though I'm not one, just because they don't want to, clearly they're not hurting any animals.
Yeah.
So my weird food answer, I guess there's two of them, one from Alaska and one from the Philippines. And I from growing up in Alaska, I didn't know that people didn't think of reindeer as something to eat. And so I get married and I bring my wife to Alaska, because they want to show her where I'm from and stuff from my childhood. And we go to IHOP and I order the reindeer sausage. And she was like, are we eating Rudolph? Is this a thing? Yeah, reindeer is just something I always grew up understanding. This is something you eat. And apparently that exists like nowhere else in the world. Like I've never seen reindeer meat or reindeer sausage sold anywhere other than up in Alaska. I don't know if it's just not a thing that they do or I really am weird, but reindeer.
You're weird, Puck.
Well,
You're
even calling
weird.
it reindeer instead of calling it deer or venison.
No, this is specific. It's like reindeer / caribou meat, and they actually have reindeer farms up there. It's specifically reindeer.
Yeah,
like
it's probably marketing. That would probably weird everybody out in the rest of the country, just by virtue of the association with Christmas and like you're eating like Dancer and
Yeah, you're eating. Vixen.
Like, you monster.
And
even venison. Even my wife stresses out about venison because
I refuse to eat deer. Because
not venison, with veal, the baby calf.
Oh, baby cow, yeah.
Because you could get even like committed meat eaters like myself to be a little bit like, I don't know if I could eat that.
Yeah, I won't eat veal either. I won't eat veal and I won't eat venison. Those are my two. And I won't eat pig. I haven't had pig since I was like 22.
So just like expounding on this on a scale of like 0, which is I don't care, to 10 being like its absolute priority. How much on that scale are you guys at when it comes to like how the animal is treated before it's consumed? Like there's some foods out there that arguably they're made by poorly treating an animal first, like foie gras or shark fin soup. It's not like they're taken to a slaughterhouse. These animals are treated badly during life first in order to make the food that is. So how much do you guys think about the animal before you eat your foods?
I wouldn't eat it if I knew it was being treated badly. I mean, I can say that.
Yeah. So to circle back to a question Puck asked earlier, I know you don't know us, but when you hear the term atheist, what do you think of, or like what comes to mind? But be honest though, please.
I'll say, let me first really quickly. I've eaten snails, alligator, oysters, clams, mussels, you name it. I've eaten it.
Yet to try alligator. It's on the list.
Alligator's good. It tastes like chicken. But as far as the atheist, I have to say here's what happened. Before 2014, I only knew of atheists and I barely knew an atheist relative that my husband had. And then he unfortunately passed away, and he was supposed to be a really nice guy. And everybody was really stressed out at the funeral because he was an atheist and people were talking about it. That was like one of the times when they really talked about it. And so, but he was a really nice guy from all accounts. Everybody really liked him. He was in the military, and I think he saw some pretty bad things around the world, and he came to atheism because of that. And so, that was what I knew of an atheist. But then I also had this kind of negative impression of atheists, which I don't really understand atheism. But then I met a ton of atheists since then. And so now I've got, and I say for the most part, the ones I met are pretty good people.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
So once in a while you get somebody who's trying to do something kind of jerky, but for the
right.
most part,
I've met those. Those are atheists. I don't want to say not associate with, because I'll associate with anyone, but I'm just not a fan of that like anger and toxic mentality towards other people. Like, just because you and I, Stephanie, you and I disagree, there's no reason for us to be nasty towards each other. And I don't like when people do that. So I'm sorry you had that impression of atheists. Hopefully we can continue to change that.
Yeah, no, I think, and I know what you're doing right now. I think what you're doing is a good approach. In fact, I think you're sort of the male version of Shannon Q.
Okay, Shannon Q is significantly more intelligent than me. I just, maybe the way we approach things, but I am not on Shannon Q's level.
Now, I
No,
do
but I see.
appreciate your style, though. I mean, that's a huge compliment, Ethan.
No,
Thank
I'm
you.
saying why I say that with Shannon Q is because Shannon, when I first met Shannon, which was a couple of years ago, I remember I got on a chat with her, and the very first thing I remember her saying was, "I want to normalize atheism. My entire intention is to normalize atheism." And I thought, and I looked at Shannon. Shannon's, a beautiful woman, and she's got this. She's got a very magnetic personality, and I thought she's going to be the kind that actually could, she's going to get people away from the perceptions that the atheist is this guy in the basement really angry at his mother.
Right. I don't want that anymore. I want to be like known as the outgoing fun atheist. Like I would rather bring people to the table and then send them a better direction with the more intellectual folks like Puck, than try and bring them to the table and tell them they're wrong. Like I just want to welcome people, whether I don't care if you're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu. Like I'm open to everybody. I'm open to learning, because unlike many people, I believe I could be wrong about any of my beliefs. Like I am not. I will never sit here and say, "Hey, Stephanie, there is no God," because to me that would be dishonest for me to say, because I can't prove to you there's no God, and therefore I have to be open to it.
So are you more like an agnostic then?
I would define myself as an agnostic atheist. I remain unconvinced. So I don't know whether there's a God or not, but I would lean towards there's not. But I won't take that hard approach and say there's no God, because I don't think that is I don't think that's a rational position to hold. Because how can you sit here and demand evidence of a Christian and then turn around and be like, "Oh, well, there's no God, but I don't need to prove it to you." Like to me, that doesn't make sense.
So you take a burden of proof for people who say there is no God.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
they have something to prove.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the
Craig,
thing
are you
is, like,
still in here?
oh,
I'm here. I'm just trying to mute when I'm not talking.
Because I just said Lydia Potter was just saying, is this a three-way atheist talk? Now, I'm not an atheist, and Craig's not an atheist either. So we have two atheists, two Christians.
Three-way atheist talk.
No, and I think it's important to like talk about these, like, and forgive me for using the word stereotypes, but like they are there. Like, when you think of your typical, like Trina pointed out over there, it's like the Republican. How did Republican and Christian become so intertwined? They seem like they have nothing to do with each other, but we would associate people on the right with being Christian.
Right.
How did that happen?
Well, there's an actual
Ronald Reagan,
genesis.
it goes back.
Yeah, there's an actual genesis to that, because let me just in brief about the Republican thing. Back in the days of like Jimmy Carter, Michelle Bachmann, who's really famous conservative from, I think, Minnesota, congresswoman, was out stumping for Jimmy Carter as an evangelical Christian. And then somewhere along the way, Christianity and like right-wing politics started to become intertwined because of politics, because of actual changes in the Republican Party and how they were more welcoming and things like that. But with atheists, Stephanie and I interact with atheists a lot, and there's basically three categories. Most of the people who I hang out with, who I'm friends with, are just normal people who happen to be atheists.
Right.
But the people who you guys are talking about are kind of like ideological atheists, and those are the ones who give everybody the bad impression. And there are a lot of them. They're a big chunk of the 30% of the people you would interact with where they're aggressively in your face atheists first and foremost.
You find them on Twitter and YouTube.
Yeah, there are people like that under every banner. Like the Bernie Bros were kind of the same idea, apparently. But those are the guys who you want to work against, because those are the guys who are the bad look, because people associate with the entire community, because they're in someone's face as an atheist. So it's natural to start to try to. Now I know a lot of atheists, so there's no I don't have any biases, because most of the people I talk to on a daily basis are atheists at this point, at least half,
And the weird
That's
thing
a lot
about
of atheists. Why I need to meet some of them.
Well, the weird thing about religion is, like, if you just look at someone there's almost no way to tell for most of them what their religion is. Now, some of them might have, apparel that's more leaning toward one religion or another. So for some people, it's obvious and apparent. But for most of it, like if you just look at an average person on the street, you can't tell what they are. They could be atheist, they could be Christian, they could be whatever.
Totally.
So and for the majority of my interactions, it's like the subject doesn't even come up, right? And like so it just doesn't enter our sphere of conversation of the things that we would normally talk about. I try to keep my in real life atheism kind of on the down low. Cincinnati's kind of a weird place to be loud about that. So
yeah, see, I'm pretty.
So you don't wait. You, Ethan, you're pretty public about your atheism in your regular life.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're consciously trying to upend all the negative stereotypes.
Absolutely. So I'm not like, and what I mean by that is I'm not hey, everybody, I'm an atheist. How you doing? But I do want people I engage with in a conversation at some point, I'd like to throw that out there because to me, we need more representation. Like just a week and a half ago, I was looking for graphic designers and I had 2 graphic designers refuse to work with me because I'm an atheist. And to me right there is why I need to keep doing what I'm doing. Because imagine if this was flipped around, if someone asked me to fix their computer and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, you're Christian, I can't fix it. Like that would be a horrible thing to do to somebody. And it can be so discouraging that people want to judge you just because you don't agree with them. So yes, atheism awareness is
that actually what they said to you? They said,
well, wait, was it because it wasn't going to be graphic design on a website that's for atheism?
It was for the YouTube channel, and it was for the debate flyer. And there was the Christian and the atheist. And I just said, just so you know, this is not, I'm not fostering actual debates. If you're wrong, I'm just here to put people together and have a friendly conversation. But neither of them would budge. And it's like, but why not? One, you should want me to talk about your religion, I would think, because that brings more attention to Christianity as well. And I don't know, we're humans first. And it's just, I don't get how people would just refuse to work with another human being over something as simple as, hey, I don't think there's a God. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't understand that.
Well, my first answer to that would be that it's not that simple. Like I think all 4 of us can think of things that we would not do work in our fields to support, right? And we should have the right to say, no, I'm not going to do work for this organization.
They're right. Yes.
Yeah. But okay. So like everybody's got that group. So it's so hard to like tell people, no, you must do the work, even for something that you ideologically do not support, because they're very good.
Yes.
Not to ideologically support certain things.
Yeah, there'd have to be like common sense protocols that could be built into the law. Like the example that we'd probably all agree with is a Nazi. You couldn't run a business where you say no Nazi is allowed to eat at my business because it's open to the general public. That'd be discriminatory. But you could say, if a Nazi said, I want you to come to my house and paint my Nazi flag, you could say, no, I'm not doing that. Sorry. There's a really big difference between like a general business open to all and like a thing where they're commandeering your skills and your talents for, that's how I see it. Some sort of protocol along those lines, right?
I want to add something. It's just so you know this, you guys who are atheists, you're protected under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act under the religion against discrimination in the workplace based on race, religion, color, national origin, and gender. And in the religion category, they include atheism and agnosticism as world belief systems. So people cannot discriminate against you for being an atheist under our laws here.
So fight the power, atheists. We stand with you. Against injustice, we stand with the atheists.
and can I have that? Wait, I need that soundbite. I just want to, so I can take it. I would never do this, but totally take it out of context and then have it say, "I stand with atheists."
Ethan, it's 52 minutes 45 seconds into this.
I'm totally kidding, Craig. I'm sorry.
No, but this is like, and I'm glad that we brought it. Like it took 50 minutes, but we're coming to this idea that we have so many different ideological backgrounds, but we also have so many things in common, and we have things that we can look at in society, and we both look at that and say, this isn't working. How can we work together to solve these common problems?
Yes.
Right.
Let
but
me ask
some
you
of-
guys this.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
a lot of times they say Christians tend to vote Republican and some Christians vote Democrat, but you don't see them quite as frequently. So where do you guys, and a lot of it, what I've seen, at least from some of the research that I've seen out there, is that atheists tend to vote most of them tend to vote to the left or with the Democrats. Where do
So-
you guys stand?
So, in my experience, atheists are typically more left-leaning. There is actually an atheist Republican in the comments right now, and we Trina, and we vehemently disagree. But yeah, I would say so. When I was Christian, I did vote Republican. When I became an atheist, it wasn't like immediate where I stopped voting Republican, but it was slowly like, okay. But I wouldn't consider myself a Democrat either. I would consider myself an independent. I would rather vote for the person that is going to help the underprivileged the most than vote for. I will never vote for Donald Trump. I'll say that. I don't want to get political, but I think he is not a very nice person. I'll just say that. I'm not talking about his policies. I'm just talking about the way he treats people. I don't think that is somebody that should be in office.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. And what about you, Puck? And I know Craig, I don't know where Craig is right now. I'm a moderate. I consider myself a moderate, but I'm a registered Democrat. I tend to vote Democrat because a lot of the stuff with education and the environment and that the Democrats tend to endorse. But
Right.
I vote by the person now. That's my new thing. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, I tend to take issues more on a one-to-one thing. Like it's hard to say that I'm left for a lot of things because I'm having a hard time figuring out left ideology that doesn't basically go, other people have money, they should be spending it the way I want them to spend it. And so like I have a hard time with that. And I've never really heard the conservative platform. Like, it's like the moral ontology, right? I've never really heard it described in a good enough way, other than the arguments that the more vocal, further to the right people like to spew on the internet, right? So it's hard for me to get like a coherent worldview out of their rhetoric. So I don't know if I fully support that. On the other side, like I lean left when it comes more to like a wow, what's the best word for like civil rights and human issues like gay marriage. Is like, okay, fine, two people want to get married, let them get married. I'll even take that a step further, and I'll even say if any two people can get married to each other, why not add a third, as long as it's consensual to all of them, right? Like,
yes.
let's take some more leaps on that. So I tend to be more on the left on that side, but I lean a little bit more to the right when it comes to economics and fiscal stuff. Like, I don't know how I feel about universal basic income, because if I was making that kind of money and I could support myself and do whatever I want, I don't know that I would be incentivized to contribute to the workplace. I would probably stay at home and play video games and produce atheist propaganda content.
And Craig,
So I don't know how that works.
Oh yeah, no, I those are good points. I am not for polygamy myself, but it's interesting. You are.
No, I'm
you
not
go to Utah.
I'm not necessarily saying that polygamy should be, like I probably wouldn't do it. But what I'm saying is, if three people decide that they want to enter a contractual union, it's consensual for all of them. I'm having a hard time figuring out a good reason to tell them no.
Yeah.
So in some ways you're libertarian, even, where you think that the government shouldn't even have a right to, because there's weird dichotomies in politics. Like the libertarians tend to side with the Republicans, but a lot of times, most of the people from the classic liberalism of like the type that I grew up with, considering a liberal, all had libertarian leanings. All of them, we used to be very anti-establishment, anti-authoritarian, and that's just not as true anymore. So,
you guys remember back in the 90s, the Defense of Marriage Amendment, which passed in a landslide?
Yeah, that was Clinton's initiative, wasn't it?
I don't remember who it was, but it was the first election that I was old enough to vote in, right? And I remember I had a friend who was a Mormon who strongly disagreed with the concept of gay marriage. She hated the concept, but she voted no on that amendment because she says, as much as I don't want to, gay people to get married, I also don't want it to be the government's call.
Right. A lot of people have that philosophical point of view, that it's none of the government's business.
Yeah, it's not right. I wouldn't do it, but they're not the ones who should be saying don't do it.
See, I'd like the government to get out of that business. I don't think the government should be involved in marriage anyway.
Agreed.
I mean,
Agreed.
what do they care? I actually supported gay marriage just because I know a lot of gay people who are married and they're pretty happy and they like that deal and they get a good tax write-offs and they get other benefits that are legal benefits for being married. So that's because of the legal reasons I thought it was more fair for them to have those rights.
But
Yeah,
then
and I'm on the side of just whatever's best for the individual. So, for example, I have never engaged in a polyamorous relationship. Um, but if other people want to, hey, as long as they're consenting adults, go ahead. I don't care. It's between you.
well, in a polygamous relationship, it's between you and you and you and
You and you and you. Yeah, but
You
that's
and you
what
and
I'm
you
saying.
and
It's
her
like
and him. Those always, the ones that I've seen though, in like the people that I've seen who've been in polyamorous relationships who are married, those marriages end up breaking up. I mean, I can cite examples, but I don't want to bring anybody's name and drag them. But there's everyone that I've ever seen who's been in that kind of relationship has the marriage is a divorce, has already been divorced.
true,
So.
but I mean, if that's true, that doesn't mean that will always be the case.
No, I mean there could be
Yeah,
some
yeah.
that make it, but I've honestly never seen it. And I've seen quite a few polyamorous relationships in real life and online with people that I know from these Twitter things.
It's one of the like I have to wonder like how many happen that we just don't even know about because it's still such a
Yes.
hush hush thing. Like, going back to that whole I can pass a person on the street and I wouldn't be able to tell their religion. I could pass a person down the street and not know what their relationship is like.
I can tell you something kind of funny in my neighborhood.
Mhm.
There's one part of, I'm in this huge planned neighborhood and it's got all these little types of neighborhoods, like mini neighborhoods inside this big gigantic neighborhood. And in one of the mini neighborhoods, the idea is there's apparently a bunch of swingers. So that's what I was hearing. And so apparently how they alert each other, this is actually kind of funny. They alert each other that they're in the swinging population by having their garage door slightly opened.
And no. You're more right than you know. I've heard about this. Like you send little signals to say what like you try to find people.
Hang on, I gotta go make sure my garage door is not open.
No, but that's how.
Make sure it's open or not open.
Not
Which
open a
one's-
little bit.
You'll hear this about like when people talk about homosexual relationships in the 60s and 70s, when you didn't have the internet to find other people, it wasn't socially acceptable to just talk about this openly, so they had to leave little signs and it had to like be out there in the community. It's like, this is what we do, so now that you're in, what this little symbol means.
Yeah, that's what
right. They did that originally with Christianity. That's the fish symbol. Did you put the little fish on the door or something because it was an underground culture,
right.
And it signaled this is where the Christians meet.
Well, the really funny thing about this particular thing with the garage doors is after I heard it, I bike every day. I bike in my neighborhood every day for like an hour, 2 hours. So I bike in that day after I heard it. I started biking around trying to see which houses had the garage doors open. And so I see my neighbor at the end of the street. And this guy who's got he always wears like a wife beater tank top. Sure enough. His garage door's open like this. Oh gosh, it's awful.
And you know what? Once you get that association, it'll never stop, right? Like if you ever move out of Florida and you move to another place where this is not a signal, right? You're like you move to, I don't know, back to Chicago or Cincinnati, and then you start seeing those in Rockford. It's like, wait a second, does that mean what I think it means, or am I still in Florida? Oh. Yeah. This has been so much fun, you guys. I appreciate you bringing us on to hang out like this.
Oh yeah.
And like the one thing that I definitely wanted to talk about, like what can we think of? What can we all four of us agree is something that are both of our sides or all four of our sides, what should we be working on together? Like, yes. I think one thing we can agree on is there should be some separation of church and state, right? Ethan, I know you talk about this a lot on your channel. Like you said,
yeah,
does this belong on our money?
Right? I like how our government runs. And I mean, I know politics aside and problems aside sometimes, but I like the basic foundations that the United States was founded on.
So if we were like to just thinking an extremely small scale, the four of us, if we were to like choose an issue that we all agree on and something that we can, from this conversation, go forward and go on in our lives tomorrow, actively working toward, what should that be? What can we think of that like the four of us can work for?
Well, there's a lot of things that we all agree to world peace, right? Don't we all agree to world peace? We all agree that we'd like to do whatever it takes to get rid of the global pandemic.
Yes.
What else,
the
guys?
weird thing about like everybody's gonna have different ideas as to exactly how we do that, right? Like, I don't know how things are in you guys' communities, but we have a lot of people who are very resistant to Cincinnati still being shut down. There's a lot. I don't know if you guys heard about the protests in Columbus, but
Oh, sure.
they're pretty serious here. So it's like, even though we can agree, it's like, yeah, okay, let's get rid of this pandemic. There doesn't seem to be a lot of agreement as to how this should be done. And I think my sister is the best example for this. Forgive me for talking about her while she's not here, but she's like, I want to do what I can to spread the pandemic, to stop the spread of the pandemic. And then the government told me what to do. And just because it's the government, I almost don't want to do it.
See, I think there's a lot of that, and there's also some very desperate people out there. I mean, I'm in education, so I'm pretty safe. I can teach my classes online, and it works out okay. But there's a lot of people. We got 20% of the population, or maybe more, actually, who are unemployed right now and pretty desperate.
Mhm.
They can't get by on that $1,200 for that long. And if they file for unemployment in Florida, it's been taking, a lot of people still haven't even received their unemployment checks.
Oh yeah,
And
Ohio's
so,
crazy with that. Like I'm lucky because my wife and I are unaffected, or both of our incomes. We can still work
Same.
and do what we need to do. But a lot of other people aren't so lucky. So, like, you're right, 1,200 one-time payment is just not enough.
yeah, and it's really, I mean, it's sad. And then a lot of them are, I would say that the government, we've been in quarantine now for over 2 months. I think we're done. I know I don't want to go too soon and say that, but I think that people can self quarantine and they still will. But I think that
Yes.
the businesses should be open up and people should be able to offer their restaurant services and that kind of stuff if they want to.
Yeah, I agree.
And I do
definitely
think
agree.
the airlines, though, they should definitely be taking people's temperatures before letting them get on a plane. And same thing with buses and any sort of public transportation.
You know,
Yeah.
my mind goes back to that video of the guy in, was it Philadelphia, who was taken off the bus forcibly by police for not wearing his mask.
Hmm.
I think that's another thing people are afraid of. It's like right now, I can't think of too many, we'll call them violently enforced restrictions on places, but that was like one of my legitimate concerns. It's like right now everybody's just kind of behaving well enough on their own, but what happens if a restaurant decides to open, or a bar, people decide to go there, it's still dangerous to do so, and the police decide to take a little bit stronger forceful action on unarmed people. And that was one of the things I'm most worried about was going to happen, like some sort of really, really strong conflict, and nobody's going to be able to predict where and when it's going to happen and what's going to happen after that.
Mm-hmm.
Your
Yeah,
chat's going crazy right now. I love it.
See, I also saw a bus driver who made a video of himself, and he was complaining about some lady who got on his bus and she was just hacking and coughing and she didn't have any sort of mask on. And he said he was worried about catching the coronavirus, and then he did catch it and he died.
Oh,
Wow.
So that kind of thing. And whoever that woman was, I mean, what a beast. I mean, come on.
Wow.
So
If are there any questions you've always wanted to ask atheists that you have not been able to ask?
yeah, and I want to ask the audience too. If you guys have questions for these guys, tag me and I'll ask them. So any questions to ask atheists? Well, I would like to ask you, how do you find meaning, greater meaning, or do you care about greater meaning?
I guess it depends how you define greater meaning. Like, I don't think I have some like purpose handed to me, but I do feel more full of life than I ever have before. Just because to me, like right now is my, how I view it, is my only opportunity to live the best life I can and do the best I can to help the people around me. Because to me, there is no second chance. Like I don't see myself going to heaven or hell. To me, when it's over, it's over. And that means it is my responsibility to do the best I can with my life and do everything I can to help everybody around me. Because to me, that's what life is about, is lifting people up, not tearing them down or not bickering. Just, I don't know. It's cheesy, but yeah, raising people up.
Yeah, I just reminded me of something. I wanted to ask you, both of you, about your family. Like, how's your family accepted this atheism that you have too?
So my mother, unfortunately, and this, I will say, this is one thing that kind of drives me nuts, is when someone says you're only an atheist because, like, no, like don't discredit all the work I did to get to where I'm at with just because. And for example, she thinks I'm just an atheist because my brother passed away. And that's so frustrating to me because they're not remotely tied together in the slightest. But overall, my grandma is Lutheran, and she's very, very supportive. She loves what I'm doing. I'd say my entire family though is very very right wing, Christian. Not very Christian, but they're Christian.
So you're the first atheist in your immediate family?
Yes, and what's funny is both my other brother and I became atheists separately without even knowing. Like, I didn't find out till like a year after he became an atheist that he was one too. I was like, no way.
That's interesting. How long have you been an atheist for?
It's 2020, so about 5 years.
So you actually deconverted. You were a practicing Christian at one point?
So I guess, my friend Larry the Christian would say I wasn't a true Christian. So I guess it would depend on your definition of Christianity. But yes, I believed I was a Christian. Did I go to church every single week? No, I did not.
Okay,
when and how did your brother pass away? I'm sorry to hear that. That's terrible. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's terrible.
He actually passed away on Thanksgiving in 2011, and I found out in the most horrific way on Facebook. We were sitting around waiting for him at dinner, and my other brother signals me to the back, and he shows me a Facebook status that says "Rip Brent," and I'm like, what? And he was just late for dinner. So we're calling everywhere. We're trying to find out what's happening. Finally, we find out, yeah, he did pass. My mom's trying to, they won't let us into the place to identify, or we had very limited information.
That's the first your entire family heard about it?
Yes, on Facebook.
How come? Why?
So he was spending the night with a friend, and there is suspicious activity around what she did. Let's just say the next day, his money was gone. We once we found out his money was gone, we alerted the police. She moved to Florida, so your neck of the woods, with her ex-boyfriend, and his money was gone. His TV is all gone, and the police said there wasn't enough evidence. Wow. So we don't actually know.
That's awful.
Yeah.
No closure.
No closure.
Is this somewhat drug related? Like, was this girl sketchy and drug addicted?
Yes. So there was some suspicious. My brother was he's a military vet. He was a special forces medic, and he was brilliant. He skipped skipped 2 grades, graduated early. He's just one of those people that could grasp everything, and so smart. But unfortunately, I don't know. I'll never have my answer. I am okay with that. I know my family hasn't forgiven her. I have. I'd like to know what happened, but if I don't ever know, hey, I don't know. I have to keep living my life, because if my brother was still here, he would essentially say, dude, get over it and live your life. So that's what I have to do.
Were you close with him?
Me and both my brothers, we are completely inseparable. I have a tattoo on my chest that represents the 3 of us. Our parents worked all the time. They both worked, 2 full-time jobs. So I was babysitting them constantly. I cooked them dinner. I changed their diapers. So we were inseparable, and my brother and I are still inseparable.
Wow, that's tough.
It's
really sad.
Really tough.
So I'm trying to remember if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, you did.
Okay.
You did. So yeah, you definitely did. So you have sisters too?
So funny story about that. My mom remarried. And so technically they're my half brothers, but I don't view them as my half brothers. However, my biological father has numerous children. He's Muslim too. He has numerous children.
He's Muslim?
Yes, my biological father is Muslim. He's I don't look it, but yeah, he was born in Albania and came here when he was 21 or 22. So yeah, he's like short, real dark skin. I
Wait,
don't.
so were you weren't raised Muslim at any point though?
No,
Was
I
he
was
out of the
not.
picture?
He was out of the picture. Um, so for the first 5 years of my life, my mom essentially had to keep me under lock and key because his sister warned my mom that he was going to try and take me away and move me back to his country. So
Oh,
I had a
wow.
very sheltered life. But I finally met him when I was about 12 years old. I didn't really care for him. But then I did call him, was it three? No, sorry. Yeah, 3 years ago because I was having some medical issues. And I'm like, look, I need to get answers. So I'm going to call him. And he's remarried. He has, I don't know how many kids with different women. And I did find out I have a sister um, who is awesome and we get along great. But his family doesn't know about us. So he's not a very, he's a terrible person, if I'm being honest. He's not a good guy at all.
Right.
You know what's interesting? I'm looking at you and realizing you said Albania. I have a friend in high school from when I was in high school named Jason, who was Albanian too, and he looks like you.
Really?
I'm telling you, he looks like from Aurora, Illinois. He looks like you. I should send you. I'm a Facebook friend with him. I'll find a picture of him on Facebook, and
You should, because it wouldn't surprise me if we're related with how many kids my biological father has. Who knows how many siblings I really have.
yeah, he's definitely. He's older. I'm obviously a lot older than you, but it would be interesting to see if that's somehow related. Because how many Albanian people do you know up in Illinois?
None. I know none.
He was the only one that I knew. He had a rock band that they used to play at the prom and those kind of places called the Flying Hafizi.
I think I can find Albania on a map if I had to, but I don't know much else about it. I think it's on the Mediterranean coast or somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, he actually, I just thought of this. I've never told him I'm an atheist, but that's because we don't talk often. So that will be an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. So you had sisters from who your mother remarried. That's what you were originally going to tell us.
Oh,
Funny story about your sisters.
Sorry. The sisters are from my biological father's side. My mother, when she remarried, she had my two brothers. So like I said, technically they're my half brothers, but I don't consider them my half. They're, and yeah, so when she met him, we ended up moving to Mexico. So I lived in Mexico for like a year of my life. So I have a pretty diverse background for being a white boy.
I say half Muslim, mother. Yeah,
lived in Mexico. Grew up with an Italian family because my grandpa was hardcore Italian. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's interesting. So how about you, cool. Puck?
Ooh, okay, so there were two questions there. First of all, like, how does my family feel about it? And then the purpose one. I want to let Ethan keep going just because that's such a compelling story, and I'm glad you finally got a chance to tell it.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I only really like I realized I was atheist probably like in the middle 2000s, but I only really came out about it when I met my very first young Earth creationists, and I was like, whoops. I didn't think that they actually that was a thing, because it was not part of my sphere. Even the churches that I went to, like whenever we talk about it, we always accept an old Earth and whatnot. And then I met my first young Earth creationists who were like so far behind on like, and I'm not talking about like historical science as Ken Ham would put it. I'm talking about like basic trigonometry, right? And they were so insular in their upbringing that they didn't know about how basic math and science worked, and they had to do a lot of catch up. And again, this isn't even the controversial stuff. I'm talking about like math past basic algebra that they didn't. And I was like, oh wow, I got to start coming out about this and talking about it more. And when I came out 2015, I think 2014, 2015. It was a mixed result. A lot of my friends were like, I thought you already were atheist. That's what I already thought you were. My family was not as impressed. My dad, I don't think he really cares, but I remember our very first package. My wife's birthday and mine are both in December, so we just get a big package from my parents for our Christmas and birthday presents, and we got that package that year, and we opened it up, and there were plenty of presents for my wife, and there was a little card in there for me that says atheists don't get birthday or Christmas presents. I was like, okay.
Wow.
That's cool. I mean, you know,
I celebrate Christmas.
Who gave you that? Wait, slap. Who said that to you
see,
exactly?
it came from it was in the box that we typically expect every year that has the presents that we have for Christmas, like our
But coming
Christmas
from
exchange
who
Oh,
sent it?
that's cold.
from my parents.
I gotta
Now,
remember that one. I'm gonna send that to
wow.
I'm gonna send that to some of the, like Paula G. I'll send them one at Christmas.
atheists don't get
Atheists
Christmas
don't
presents.
get Christmas presents.
Yeah, you know,
Paula
I
G.
leave some room for the possibility that they were, you know, trying to be a little on the
Playful.
joshing side about it. They're being playful because there were
Yeah, but
birthday presents.
they didn't give
so-
you anything. So
No,
I
my
still-
wife got like the best pecan bars ever, which is fine because I don't eat pecan bars. And she got, you know, some clothes and whatnot. And I got birthday presents, but no Christmas presents. That's okay. I'm sure it's all in the name of love and good natured joshing. But like
it's all in the name of persecuting the heathen, Puck. All in the name of persecuting the heathen.
No, but aside from that, it's like most of my family has pretty much left me alone about it. You know, I like my cousins; they don't seem to really care. One of them is a minister in the Philippines, and we still talk in a friendly way. Like I said, there's plenty of things that we agree on. He is so Christian, by the way, that he named his first son Nimrod. So that's one of the more rare biblical names.
Yeah, I'm not even familiar with a.
Wait, I thought Nimrod was an insult.
Yeah,
Like, hey,
no,
Nimrod?
it is an insult, but it's also a biblical name.
Oh, okay.
But if you say you Nimrod, oh my God, that guy's such a Nimrod. It's an insult.
Yeah, now
At
this
least
is
it
also
in New York.
This is also in the
Not in the
Philippines, so
Philippines,
it probably
apparently.
doesn't have the same cultural meaning there
Right.
that it does here. But yeah, you're right. Here it would be an insult. There, it's just a biblical name. So like my whole family runs a scale, and I'm a typical Filipino family. It's huge, right? My grandfather had 14 brothers and sisters. My
Wow.
dad has 2 brothers and sisters. So I have people who like I don't know how we're related, but I'd have to like draw out a chart to show how we're related. We're like second cousins 3 times removed. I don't know. But most of them don't care. And I can just talk to them. And when we have a big family group chat, and when they start saying the God blesses and the pray for yous, I'm just like, I'm over here thinking about you. Hope you guys are doing well. So most of my family doesn't care. As far as purpose, though, this is a really weird one for me, because if I already have a purpose, whether I'm aware of it or not, I'm already doing it. Right. And there's no way to avoid doing this purpose. Like if there's a purpose that you have to do or the universe is going to collapse, I'm already doing it. And the worst thing that I can do is try to figure out what it is, because then I'm thinking about it. It's like, okay, am I supposed to be doing this? No, I'm already doing what I am supposed to be doing, if you want to look at it in the destiny sense. But as far as like what drives me every day, this is my personal niche of atheism, is that like if there are people who are in a religion and in a belief structure because they choose to be, that's fine. There are people who are brought into that don't want to be anymore. And they are given a hard time for leaving, and they're given a hard time after they leave. And those are the ones and that's the biggest beef that I have with religion, not the beliefs themselves, but how people who are leaving it are treated. And this is not just Christianity. You'll see this everywhere, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, some
Totally.
I mean, if you're a Muslim in a lot of countries, if you leave the faith, you could be arrested and thrown in prison.
Yeah. And like if
that's where you get also even worse. They'll throw acid on your face and things like that, and that doesn't go over well usually. Your life is usually in danger in certain areas if you deconvert from Islam, and you're too public about it, too vocal about it.
Yeah, so I had it pretty easy. Like for me, not believing in religion anymore was as simple as, well, my Sundays are free now. But for a lot of other people who live in more insular communities or family structures or countries where this is just the understanding, this is what you are and what you do, it's not so easy for them. And that's the one who my heart goes out to, and the ones that I wish I could help.
What's interesting about all that, because it's actually the atheists who convinced me that I need to actually start being vocal about all this kind of stuff. Because I could easily have been hanging out and doing what I was doing in 2014 when I first got on Twitter, when I barely ever got on Twitter, and I would just send an occasional tweet here and there. And suddenly I get aligned with all these atheists, and I realize there's a lot of misinformation out there, and a lot of them, those who follow people like Richard Dawkins are kind of doing themselves a huge disservice, I think. But I decided I'd start writing about why I believe that isn't the right thing to believe. But I think the atheists, so what I'm trying to say is, I think the atheists, and it also could be some Christians, turn Christians into atheists, and some atheists turn Christians into even stronger Christians and less apathetic Christians. So I think there's a lot of apathy out there before social media.
So a Christian is actually responsible for me starting your friendly neighborhood atheist. It was my friend Larry the Christian. He was the first person that wanted to accept my debate, and it was through him. I learned my direction, and he's been incredibly supportive. He's invited me to his church. I attend his. He has a weekly ministry. I try and attend it like once a month. So yeah,
So he's your friend in real life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I've known him.
So he
for
was
many
your
years.
friend prior to deconversion.
Yeah, that's correct. He was my friend prior to, and we've actually become
better friends.
We've become very close friends. Like we talk almost every
because
day.
probably that reinforces like you're friends before you deconvert, and then you deconvert, and the guy is a really fervent practicing Christian, and he's still your friend. That kind of lays to rest all the ideas about that that's your real friend, and it has nothing to do with
exactly. And we have some of the best conversations because he's helped prepare me for other debates with Christians. When I was like debating before, he was trying like, here, they're going to say this, you should say this. But yeah, he'll constantly be like, hey, if you want to try this argument on me, I'll poke holes in it. And like, it's so awesome. And the best part is both of us are honest about our intentions. He'll tell me all the time, you're going to be a Christian one day. I know it. And I'll say, yeah, you're going to be an atheist. Like we both have that respect where, yes, we would like each other. We would like to bring each other to the other side. But at the end of the day, we just want to work together.
Right. So wait, that leads me to a question. So you're pretty evangelical about your atheism. And Puck, you probably are too, correct?
Sorry, can you define evangelical?
Well, you all things being considered, you want to try to convince people to be an atheist and deconvert,
No,
right?
No. So I spoke incorrectly. Yes, I would love for everybody to become an atheist, but that's not my goal. My goal is to bring people into a conversation and perhaps point them in a better direction. I don't have that need to convince someone they're wrong. I would just like to show them another way if possible.
Okay. So you're about, let me see if I hear this correctly, opening up the clear lines of communication between you and whatever the person is, Christian, Muslim, and you just hope that the truth would win out. And exactly. You think that truth would be that there isn't a God and they'd see that for themselves. Is that fair enough?
That it's highly unlikely that there's a God. Yes, that's absolutely correct. Because, here's the thing, Craig. Like if right now you and I sit down in a debate, psychologically, all we're doing is reinforcing our own ideas. We are in defensive mode, and we're not going to change anyone's mind. But if I sit here and talk to you about food and other things, you're going to get to know me as a person, which means you're going to be more likely to hear what I have to say. So I'd much rather bring people to the table.
And on the other side, this is what one of my videos recently, I was talking about this in the context of Stephanie. Real evangelism is doing just that, like interacting with people who don't share your beliefs, and then you upend all of their stereotypes about what a Christian is just by interacting with them. And if they're going to learn from you at all, and if you're going to plant seeds with them at all, they're going to learn from what you actually are.
Right.
So they'll walk away from an exchange with you like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with Craig Reed agrees. I don't necessarily believe in what he believes in. But, that was a cool conversation. It got me thinking, and, I'll definitely talk to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's really ultimately what it's all about, as far as I see it.
Yes. Again, because here's like, not that, yes, it'd be awesome if you became an atheist, but at the end of the day, it would be better if you just became a better human being. Like that's more important to me.
Amen. Totally. We're totally agree on that. 100%.
Craig, by the way,
that being said, would you want to
just do a quick tangent?
I was going to get money, Stephanie.
You're so on your other channel. It was so funny. I'm perusing around YouTube, and I suddenly see that Craig made a video on me in my first conversation with Josh, Dr. Josh. And it was hilarious. Yeah. You didn't even tell me you did that. And so I actually, Josh and I talked about that last night, and we answered one of your questions.
Oh, you did? Oh, I didn't notice that. Yeah, I would have jumped on. Did you send me a link to join? Because I would have jumped on if you would.
Yeah, well, he wants to actually come on again, and he would want to come on with you and you guys. Actually, I think it would be fun to have a big, huge chat every so often, and I would do it on my channel, or we could even rotate channels, or
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we could do that. That'd be fun.
with a bunch of us, like you two too, the friendly neighborhood atheist and Puck.
Heck yeah.
See, isn't
but
that
the
just so
friendly
much
the
easier to
point is,
say?
The friendly neighborhood atheist was right about to start tithing to my channel.
Yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
In my hands. Okay, go ahead.
No, what was going to be your original question, Craig, about tithing?
Give me your tithes, dude.
Watch his channel more, Ethan. You'll understand where he's going with it.
Do you ever see that? Have you guys ever watched the vacation movies?
I did not.
It's been a long time, but yes.
I saw the first one in the movie.
Remember at Edna? Why don't you just ask him for the money? He sure can't take a hint.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what just happened. I was hinting at giving me the money, and just he wasn't getting it.
So
right, you have such a great message. Everybody should go over to your channel and listen to how passionate you are about your conversations. Like when I very, very first started considering, it's like maybe I should be on the atheist YouTube sphere, right? I was like, you know what? Nothing starts you out on a YouTube better than like doing rebuttal videos and doing like finding a rival out there. And honestly, to be honest, both of you were on my radar as far as these are people who I can disagree with, but I think they're going to be okay with the disagreement. It's going to lead to dialogue rather than arguments.
How did you guys find us, by the way? How did both of you find us?
I found you from Modern Day Debates. I found out about Craig through you. So
same.
And when I say that, I don't mean like, I talked to you and you introduced me to Craig, just like clicking on link after link after link. And then it eventually.
Watching your channel, eventually you'll see me at some point or another.
Just so you're aware, Stephanie, Puck, privately speaks very highly of you. And for example, when he goes, here, you want a serious debater, but you better actually do your homework. And he sent me a video of you. He goes, but you better be ready because she knows what she's talking about. It's like,
well, that's nice, Puck.
Yeah.
Tremendous respect for your body of knowledge. And I mean, and this is like, did you see Dillahunty versus Sheffield?
I have not seen that yet.
Or the other one more recently was Apologia versus McDowell, was it?
Yeah, we did a breakdown of that.
Now I want you to compare these two debates, Ethan. Okay, because when it was Dillahunty, or when it was Apologia versus McDowell, Apologia addressed McDowell's points exactly, right? Like McDowell made a case for the martyrdom of the disciples, and Paul addressed those in that same language, in the same sphere. Like he talked academically, he cited sources, he said, okay, here's where we got, this is the point where we disagree, but he engaged with them at that academic level. Now compare that to Sheffield Dillahunty. And I promised Jonathan Sheffield that I would do a review of his debate. I apologize if you're listening, John. I just haven't gotten to as much of a review as your argument
deserves. On it, Puck. Get on it.
It deserves well. But you notice on that one, Matt did not engage that at that academic level, where Sheffield is citing sources and saying, okay, this is this expert's opinion on this, and this is this expert's opinion, and Matt just goes in there and does not address that point.
So you're saying that Apologia did engage it at the level,
yes,
and Matt. Yeah, well, the reason
I think
why
that's a good assessment.
That's a couple of interesting points about that. First of all, there was a genesis to the Apologia Sean McDowell debate.
Oh yeah,
that Sean McDowell had seen his video and he saw that Apologia had put the time in and done the homework, so he had respect for him along those lines. So he commented on his video. I think he made a response video to him.
Oh yeah, and by the time the debate was there, that's like the fifth interchange between them. So there's a tremendous amount of respect for that work for both sides.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Sheffield is coming on my channel sometime in the next week or two. He was supposed to have already been on, but he hasn't given me a direct date yet.
Oh,
he says Sheffield told me he's going to debate Richard Carrier on Modern Day Debate soon.
That's the one you want to watch, Ethan, because Richard Carrier is going to engage him at that level that Matt Dillahunty did not. Now, I'm not saying that the Matt Dillahunty debate wasn't worth watching, because he does address resurrection apologists at a different level. But what would bring this back to the conversation, SJ, I cannot engage with you at that level of New Testament and biblical scholarship, right? I can tell you how I feel about it. I could not argue it in the same kind of argument that in the same way that you would argue your points. And so that's why I have such a tremendous amount of respect for at least the study that you've put into this. So I hope that comes across.
That's
That's
cool.
very, very nice. Very kind.
There is one thing someone brought up in the comments, which I actually think we totally should have touched base on. Today, Trump said churches are essential. What are your opinions on that?
I want to say, because I did hear that. Here's what he said. He said churches are essential, just as liquor store. A lot of governors have said liquor stores and abortion clinics are essential. So he's decided that churches, synagogues, and mosques are also essential.
So what is your opinion on that?
I think it's fine to open the churches and trust that people will social distance. So limit the amount of people in a church.
Depends. I think it totally depends on how much research they put into, like, if you're going to open up things like movie theaters and stuff like that, there needs to be parameters and guidelines where it's safe. Like, right. Open up a church and social distance. I don't think churches are should be more exclusionary towards them. And one of the problems with how this always breaks down in our cultures, there's always fault lines and people start debating past each other because it's become a hot button issue rather than, is it about safety guidelines? If you're going to have people go to a ball game and sit 6 feet apart, you can do it in a church too. You can respect the safety guidelines so that, my wife goes to the supermarket a lot these days, like 5 a.m, so there's ways that you can put into place the appropriate guidelines so that it's safe, and then you shouldn't exclude the church like any other thing.
And I think another thing to remember about churches too is that for a large number of people, churches is not just about Sunday worship, but it's a center of community.
Right, and that's exactly what.
Yeah, it means so much more to them.
Need it in a time of crisis. They need that. There's other things going on too. Like at the church I attend over here in the Valley, sometimes they take up collections to pay people's rent, to help them out with bills. There's a lot of people who might fall between the cracks if you don't have the services. I haven't kept abreast of what's happening now because of what's been going on. I haven't been there.
See, I'd say open everything up. I actually, I'm looking at this. Okay, liquor stores are open, but Alcoholics Anonymous is closed.
Yeah, so you can get on booze, but you can't get off booze because
And it's one of those things like a situation like this, there's probably so many different things. Like you could set a general guideline and then something that you think should stay open under that legislation is actually going to be closed or vice versa. And it's so difficult to, like, you and I can use common sense to decide what should probably be open or closed. But how do you put that into words that are going to have that precise effect? Then that's where I think little things like this are coming from. Are churches essential? Maybe.
Yes. But the problem is that certain things become hot button issues just by virtue of how they align politically. So a church becomes, obviously, if you have people going to a supermarket, yes, supermarket's more essential. Originally, you can't shut the supermarket down because you got to buy food. Hello, But then some of the things they put in the realm of essential, people get really mad about because it has to do with politically. It's essential to this political, to who's in charge of the government. Is it a red state or a blue state? I want to add in there as far as the idea of calling people non-essential. What do you think that's doing to people's psyche?
That's actually a really good point. And that's also why I'm not always a fan of labels, because I feel like in conversation, people are too quick to distance. They'll move away from using their name. It'll start with, she, he, or they. And then after that, it'll move on to that person and then, that human being. It's like, no. Like, stop doing that. Engage in the person. Stop using that language that distances you from that person. Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a big part of what you're about. Yes. That's a big part of what you've been talking about. Like, you want to break down the wall of, like, he's an atheist or that's a Christian, and have people engage as human beings who they are, right?
Exactly. Like, that's what I want to do, because that's, to me, when real change actually happens. When you put aside those little differences and find a meeting place.
I agree.
Yeah. No, I think that's definitely good points. I just think, because I was thinking about if you're labeled non-essential, again, I think I really don't like that term, because think about all the people who would be labeled non-essentials, like the people who are retail workers in malls, or the people who are in these little strip plazas and those kind of, in these little businesses that people don't think that you need. I just think that would probably be pretty hard on someone's psyche. Not only
that actually, I love that you're thinking, because that actually caused a career change for me. Because I used to work in retail management, and I was working for a store that I won't talk about because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But I looked out at the store that I was working at, and I gazed upon the merchandise, and I gazed upon the customers, and I realized that you could remove this company completely from the map, and nobody would be substantially worse for it. We didn't sell a single necessary product. And that's when I really, like, I do I want to be doing this? Do I want to just be, and my job at the time was custom framing of all first world things. And I was like, this isn't essential. So I went from there to deciding, you know, what is important is teaching children not to have a fear of water. And like, there are a lot of kids who die from accidental drownings that could have been prevented if they had basic water presence, right? If they knew at the very worst how to float and how to get themselves out of water. So for a couple of years, I actually worked with a swim school, and that felt much more meaningful to me than working as a custom framer.
Yeah,
so
actually,
talk about essential. That's how I go.
That's a good point, because that builds into what they've done on the job satisfaction surveys on job satisfaction. When scholars have looked into what satisfies people at work, one of the really big components is that their job has some sort of meaning or purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
I'm not going to pretend that I'm taking a huge bite out of the number of kids who die in accidental drownings, but if I was able to help one not get hurt, then my 2 years spent there was worth it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So I know we talked about going till 6 o'clock, and we're now a little bit after 6.
It's been a good conversation.
This has been wonderful. Thank you guys so much for hosting us.
Yeah, no, it has been really nice. So, and we can do it again.
This was great. Yeah, we can definitely do it again.
Okay.
Well, you know, this is something we can talk about off the air. Ethan here likes to have roundtables, and I was just talking to him about how fun would it be if we had a roundtable not just among atheists, but we also had other people to talk about the same issue from different perspectives.
Yes.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd be down
I'm kind
for
of
that.
inviting you guys for him. Okay.
Yeah,
would you
I would
object
do
to
that.
being in a 6-person roundtable, including the two of you, and then let's see, would be 3 other people. I probably won't be in there. But I think we got the yes.
I gotta teach you manners. So the polite thing to do is to ask them when they're off the air, so you don't put them on the spot.
They waited for us to be off the air.
Yeah,
you remember
I'm game for that.
This happened with SJ. She was in our chat saying, "Hey,
in the chat.
Who was in that roundtable? Got to be Jenna. If Jenna's there, I'm there.
I don't have an answer for that. I don't even know what the topic is going to be. I'm just probing interest. Would you guys ever want to do this again?
Yeah, I totally would.
Totally.
Sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that'd be fun. And actually, I'm going on your channel on Monday, right? Monday night?
Yes, you are. I'm
and
very
Craig
excited.
is showing up on the 3rd of June.
Well, there you go.
3rd of June.
Yeah,
What
Ethan's
the
been
puck is a
busy
productive
filling up his
conversation.
calendar. Okay, so where can you guys want to go around and everybody just kind of say what you're working on and where we can find you?
Sure.
Sure.
I do not have a YouTube channel, but you can find me on Twitch. I stream under the name Puck Java. May I link it in your chat?
Sure, absolutely. Actually, if you guys send me your any of the links that you have in direct message on Twitter, and I'll post it all in the chat.
Yeah, but otherwise you can find me in Twitter also. And if you found SJ, you found me because I'm linked in our last couple of messages. I do not have a YouTube channel. I just kind of piggyback off of Ethan here.
Yes, but I'm okay with that. You should have more content on my channel, but we all know you want to slow down. That's okay, or be behind the scenes, man. So you can check me out on Facebook and YouTube, Your Friendly Neighborhood Atheists, plural with an S at the end. Or you just search Your Friendly Neighborhood Atheist on Facebook at facebook.com/thefriendlyneighborhoodatheist, and on Twitter at Ethan F as in Frank Michael.
Perfect. And Craig?
Yeah, it's Craig Reed, TCR. And what is the question exactly? What am I answering?
How people can find you, or if you're working on anything you want to plug.
Yeah, I'm always putting out videos. I analyzed Laura Robinson, Pine Creek Doug. He had her on a chat for the 2nd time, and I'm going to put out a video in like an hour or 2 where I analyze that. And what else have I got coming up? We're doing something on Monday, aren't we? What are we doing? We're analyzing
Oh yeah, I got 2 things on Monday. So Monday I'm going to be on with you analyzing one of the atheist videos. I forget which one we're going to look at, but
Yeah, and I'll post a video or two. I'll have a video up in a few hours, and then probably post a video or two this weekend on different topics.
And
Great.
not
We'll
that
have
I
John-
expect you guys to do much other than like grab some popcorn and have a good laugh. SJ, I just dropped a link to my discussion, my first one, in your chat and in your Twitter, so you guys can have a good laugh at my expense sometime when you have a couple hours to kill.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and end the
Thank you.
stream. So thank you everybody for
Thanks
coming
for
in.
having us. It was nice meeting both of
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great. It's
Thanks.
cool.
Here we go. End it.